Hi everyone, it's Jessica. I'm coming to you today with a project that I made using the Party Time paper, which is new out of the new core catalog for Close to My Heart. The core catalog is good from September 2020 to August 2021, so you got plenty of time to pick this one up. It's pretty cool. It is obviously geared towards birthday parties, but what I wanted to do with it was actually make something that wasn't related to a birthday party or any sort of birthday. So what I did is I pulled out actually my favorite paper from the pack is the one that's a little bit more basic. You can see it's a sapphire color, it's beautiful, and it has all the different colored polka dots, and then the back side has the same colors in stripes. And so I'm just using it in a way that is a little bit different. In fact, what I'm scrapbooking here is a 5K race that I ran in, and by some miracle, I'm not really sure how, I happened to be the first woman to cross the finish line, which never ever happened. So it was really exciting. And granted, it was a small, very small race, but still a pretty amazing accomplishment for me. So I wanted to do something that was very celebratory, but like I said, not necessarily birthday related. So this is kind of how I use that paper. And I think that there are a lot of different ways that you could use this paper pack that don't have to do with birthdays. So here you can see I'm just kind of trying to put my layout and pictures together. My white paper is going to be where I'm going to end up doing my journaling, and all of those pieces on there, the white piece and the two pictures are 3x3. And then when you saw me cutting my cardstock to go behind it, I was just trying to figure out if I had a 1/4 inch in between and all around exactly how big my piece would need to be cut. Math was not really being my friend at that particular moment. Now what I'm putting across the top of this layout is actually the zip strip from this paper. Now I had cut it because it was a zip strip off the piece that I was using for the dots and the stripes, but then I thought, well, I never even went through and looked at the zip strips on the other papers, and maybe there's something that I'm going to like even better. I did like the stars, but I wanted to add yet another one in as another dimension, another layer of pattern on there. So I pulled out the one that is in this lagoon color, and it has some little circles on it. And at first I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to use it, and then I decided I'm going to cut it down, and I'm going to use a little bit up at the top of my page and a little bit down at the bottom of my page. And to make it stand out a little bit, I did grab my Sapphire ink and I just edge distressed around it. And of course, since it was a little 1/2 inch piece zip strip, I got ink all over my fingers, but I was pretty happy with how it turned out. And so I'm going to put, like I said, a little bit up at the top, and then I'm going to put the other part of my zip strip down at the bottom. Now, if you're not familiar with Close to My Heart's paper, every piece of pattern paper has a 1/2 inch zip strip at the top of it. So it's just a little coordinating pattern piece that you can use in a project. So it comes in really handy. So you can just cut those off, and then when you cut them off, the rest of your page is still 12x12. So it's truly just a little extra 1/2 inch piece. Now here I'm using my Details I Love stamp to put my journaling lines on that white 3x3 piece. And then I'm ready to commit. I'm going to go ahead and put this part down, and I'm going to start figuring out what my embellishments might be. It does take me a little bit of time on this particular layout. I'm not totally sure what I want to do. I don't know about you guys, but I often take my stamps and kind of hold them over top of my layout and kind of just see, do I want to put this here? Do I not? I didn't end up using anything else from that Details I Love stamp, but I did think at one point that I was going to use this other stamp, which is from an old Stamp of the Month in 2018, and it says A Day to Remember. And I never actually used that one before. So what I was doing there is you always want to take a brand new stamp and rub it across your hand or on your fingers just to kind of get some of that. There's like some oil from the production on it, and it just rub it off the first time that you use it. And then I stamped it on a scrap piece of paper a couple times just to make sure that it was ready to start using. And then I wasn't sure. I could see that I wanted to do it in green. And so at first I pulled out my Clover ink pad, but then if you actually look at the back side of the zip strips on the paper pack, it'll tell you all of the colors that are in that paper pack, and it turned out it was green apple, and I did have a green apple ink pad, so that's why I pulled that other green one out and stamped it in there instead. And then after all of that work, of course, I don't even end up using that stamp that I just stamped and cut out. But what I am going to use in addition to this is I'm going to cut out the word dream with my new stamp set that also comes with the matching thin cut. And this is the serif, I think, uppercase and lowercase. I got the whole bundle, which, you know, was a little bit pricey, I'm not going to lie, but I think it was a really good investment because who can't use an alphabet stamp, right? It's something that you could use all the time. And with the thin cuts, you could just cut, like you can see I've got dream cut out there, but then you can stamp on top of it as well and add a whole other layer to it. So a lot of different ways that you could use that bundle. And if you host a party and you get Hostess rewards, which is kind of what I ended up doing to get it, it was half price. So it was a really good deal. So I highly recommend that serif, uppercase and lowercase, and the matching thin cuts. And then the other thing that I'm cutting out on my Cuttlebug is one of those tabbed borders, which were actually part of the Creativity in Motion promotion that was going on, that bundle. And I wanted to use it in a way that was different from just a tab that you would use to pull out something on a card. And so I wanted it to be like a little piece somewhere, although I'm not entirely sure where. It takes me a while to figure out exactly where I want to put it, but I do end up using it later. So that was why I cut that one out and how I'm going to end up using it. So I'm going to take my letters that I cut out on my Cuttlebug, and like I said, the stamp set has the thin cuts, and then you can stamp right on top of the die cuts that you did, and so that way it's just a little bit, it gives a little bit of shading. So I used Lagoon as my paper, and then I'm stamping over it in Sapphire so that Sapphire is just kind of shadowed all around by the Lagoon paper, and it looks really cool. And I put those letters down on that little white piece of paper, and I'm going to end up dovetailing the ends so that I can put it down at the bottom of my page, just like that. And it made it I just made my own little embellishment with it, and so that was pretty nifty. And so let's see, I've got that. It's going to go down at the bottom. I'm sorry you can't see it very well. I wasn't really paying attention as I kept moving my Versamat in and out of the camera's view. I wasn't aware that I had moved it down a little bit too much, but I pop it up with some foam tape because I love foam tape. I pop up everything that I possibly can, until it starts to get a little bit too overboard. And still, see, I'm back to that tab. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with it? I do put it on top of my journaling piece there, and I just tuck it behind that cardstock piece so that it's sticking out a little bit, just like that. That's where it ends up going. And then I have a star over to the right of it by the end of this layout. And so here's to the point where now I'm just trying to figure out what other sort of embellishments I'm going to use. I pull out my paper pack again to look at the sticker sheet. And so even though it's geared towards birthdays, I was wondering if there was something on there that I still might be able to use. And down at the bottom, it has a bunch of stickers that say a bunch of things like party time, hip hip hooray, happy birthday, enjoy, things of that nature. And so I pulled out the one that said hip hip hooray just to kind of go along with my layout, just celebrating the fact that I ran this race and kind of met a goal of mine. And so I put that at the top, and then I did cut another little banner out of a scrap piece that I had from my polka dots and stripes, and I put it over top of that. And then, like I said, I cut that green apple stamp. I went to all the trouble to do it, but then I changed my mind, and I try so hard. I keep picking it up over and over again and trying to put it in different places, but it didn't look right to me. And of course, I'd already put it down with the foam tape, so when I pulled it up, you could see a little bit, and I had to cover it with one of my yellow acrylic stars. So these are the acrylic stars that I'm using here to kind of go around as some embellishments. And I'm just attaching them with some liquid adhesive, and they stick really well when you do that. So I'm almost at the end here. So I've got my acrylic stars down. I've done my dream title. I've got my journaling box ready to fill in, and that's pretty much going to be it. I hope you have been inspired in a way to use the Party Time paper pack in a way that perhaps is not related to a birthday party, although certainly there are some papers in there that would make beautiful birthday cards and birthday scrapbook layouts. And then as my final finishing touch, you can see see here, I'm just taking my Sapphire shimmer brush and adding a little bit of sparkle splatters around. And that's it. So if you enjoyed what you saw, I would appreciate if you would check out my link. I've posted it here and it is also below. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.